Hey there, Internet. This is Explosions and Exposition. I'm Explosions, this is Exposition. Welcome to our show. Internet, this is the first episode of Explosions versus Exposition. Gonna have a quick look at the Marvel movie universe versus the DC movie universe. A bit of compare and contrast. First off, let's talk about what Marvel have done so far since they've done more stuff.
Well, obviously Marvel, they've had a bit of a head start. They had 5 years on DC with their movie universe.
Yeah, starting with Iron Man, Hulk, Iron Man 2.
So they've had more commercial success so far.
Yeah.
But like you said, they started off with Iron Man, then they introduced the idea of the cinematic universe in that very film with the famous post-credit scenes.
Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury.
Which just made nerds everywhere swoon.
With good reason.
Very good reason. And they moved on from there.
Yep.
Series before Captain America, leading up to the Avengers that we all know and love.
Yep.
Now DC, so far they've done one film in their cinematic universe, Man of Steel.
Fired.
The film has problems. It's not a perfect film.
Another episode.
We can get into that later. It did well, I think. It did do well. It did make money.
It made all the money, but it wasn't as sure as hit as DC would have liked because critically it was very 50-50. Some people liked it, some people hated it.
It wobbled a bit.
But nonetheless, they are sticking with Henry Cavill to launch.
Well,
it's not his actual sequel anymore. It's now Batman versus
Superman.
Which is
Dawn of Justice.
Which essentially just Justice League prequel. His actual sequel to Man of Steel has been pushed to like 2018.
So it's quite interesting because obviously what Marvel did was they did the individual characters first movie by movie and built up to the ensemble film, whereas DC have decided to start with the ensemble film, Superman notwithstanding, and then branch out into individual films, which I personally disagree with. I think you need to establish each character individually first.
I think in terms of pop culture, these characters are already really well established. I mean, if you say Batman, everyone knows who you're talking about. Superman has been an icon for 75 years, and while Wonder Woman people may not be as familiar with her, like the lasso of truth, the fact that she was made of clay. I mean, she wasn't in New 52. She was no longer made of clay. She was actually the illegitimate daughter of Aphrodite and Zeus, I think. Zeus and one of the goddesses, which is the thing they're going to use for the movie apparently, but. People know who Wonder Woman is. They know she's a badass. She can take on.
She's a prominent figure.
She can take on Superman. We already know who these people are. I don't think that you need 3 movies in 5 years to establish who these people are before having them come together.
I can see your point there.
I'll give you people obviously aren't going to be familiar with Aquaman, Cyborg, or the Flash necessarily, but again. They're not the mainstays. For the Justice League, you need to have the trifecta, the Holy Trinity.
The trifecta of the Justice League leadership, and then everyone else going background character. And then that's what's quite interesting because obviously with the Phase 2, if you will, DC will be doing individual films.
Yes.
For Aquaman with Jason Momoa. So we'll finally get Khal Drogo riding a shark. Sorry.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he missed out on riding a dragon because...
that would have been amazing.
Because spoilers, he died.
Yeah, well, that happened, guys. Also, Sean Bean dies in every film he's in.
He's currently in a TV show where he hasn't died yet.
Give it time.
However, it's not quite got...
Anyway, off topic. Right. So, they've got that going. They're doing a Cyborg film, which, could have done the Martian Manhunter film. Fine, whatever. Let's do Cyborg then.
I'm hoping Martian Manhunter makes an appearance. I don't remember renaming.
I don't know if he will.
But I do think it's a bit weird for DC to launch in the first.
Well, see, again, I mean, I know
not weird by our standards, but weird by Hollywood producer standards.
Fair enough. He is an out there character. He's not one of the most famous.
Green does not fit in with Nolan's color palette.
Well, again, and there's also the rumour that Warner Brothers now have no funny ones since the Green Lantern failure. Of course, that's not been confirmed, but it's quite heavily indicated.
If the creative talent remains the same, chances are jokes are not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not going to be a funny series. Which is, again, I think, where Marvel is staying strong. They managed to do the sort of hard-hitting storylines, they've got nice plot, but they keep the humour in here. Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, which was just...
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy was a surprisingly horrific plot, covered in nostalgia and happiness.
Yeah, it was a very well done film.
I mean, But yeah, so in terms of we talked about DC future, so let's
Yeah.
talk about Marvel's future. Obviously, this is becoming a very much Marvel versus DC thing. We have the Wonder Woman movie coming, which is being responded to by Marvel with a Captain Marvel film, which I'm very excited about. Carol Danvers.
Well, I always did like Carol Danvers from the comics. She was a fun character.
Yeah.
Because she was the soldier, but also an emissary with the Kree, and there's so many things you can do there. And obviously, with recent revelations in the TV universe, we know that the Kree are going to be a serious plot point.
Yeah.
And
Inhumans is coming out.
So Marvel clearly have a lot of plans in the works, because obviously they've announced Doctor Strange movie.
Just confirmed, Benedict Cumberbatch will be playing the titular.
We'll have a discussion
character.
on how we feel about that in another episode, first definitely. They've announced a Suicide Squad lineup. That looks fun.
Admittedly, DC rather than Marvel.
Is that DC? Oh, I keep forgetting that's DC. Sorry, I apologise. DC, Suicide Squad. That was an excellent choice, though. Suicide Squad is always fun.
Which will be
very good counter.
Basically, our next episode is going to talk about casting decisions.
Yeah.
So moving on, let's talk about generally about
Marvel.
DC. Do you think that I personally, I feel one of the risks with DC is that they've yet to have the solid success they wanted? I mean, Man of Steel was $1 billion movie, but it wasn't as big as they wanted it to be, and I'm not sure if Batman vs Superman doesn't pull out the big cheese, that they might even just abandon the whole Justice League project.
Well, see, that's what I'm afraid of, because
I feel Marvel have the financial backing at this point to continue.
I think
these long-term plans.
Marvel are now at the point though where they maybe think they're too big to fail, which is a problem. But then again, Marvel have proven they can do the risky films. They took a risk with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Avengers.
It worked.
They
took a risk with Avengers.
How big a risk Avengers was.
And it worked. So they've proven it. Justice League knows that these ensemble films, these out there films, can work. And I have a feeling that they might get a couple of shaky starts. But I've got my fingers crossed. Like, I might have doubts about it, but I'm going to go see the next Batman Superman film.
That's the thing. I think DC are going to go a long way on goodwill. Just people want to see Batman.
You can't not hear Batman versus Superman and not have a little part of you want to go see it.
Yeah, and in fact, the episode after next, our third episode, will be DC, what you're doing wrong and how you can fix it.
Ultimately, though, DC's big problem right now is, and honorary mention here to the TV shows again, is that they don't have the extended universe with the TV shows. Yeah.
While Marvel have a currently strong offering in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and have major fingers crossed for Agent Carter.
Unfortunately, I will want to discuss it. We'll be discussing the TV shows next episode, and what we both feel DC and Marvel should maybe be doing to help. Because the TV shows, I feel, are a baseline that will help the movies.
Yes. And
Marvel have been using that. DC have not. But again, we can get in this for hours. So ultimately, right now, Marvel, I think, need to remember that yes, they're big, yes, they're doing well, yes, they've taken risks in the work, but you have to remember the risks won't always pay off. They have to remember that they've got to stay the course and not get overconfident. And DC have to get themselves a pair of balls and remember that the risks have been taken and have worked.
Yes.
They can do this.
Very, very definitely. Marvel, I think, is going to be tested quite heavily in terms of the Marvel brand by Ant-Man. I think Ant-Man also has the first major potential blowback in that they fired auteur Edgar Wright, who has a big fan following, but they've now fired him and brought someone else, and I can't remember who. And that could be interesting to see how it turned out. We know how Thor 2 turned out with similar issues, but they managed to avoid blowback from fan reactions. But Edgar Wright is a different beast from Kenneth Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh, sorry. Kenneth. So obviously different beasts there, because Edgar Wright is a major geek figure. So I feel Ant-Man could be the...
Again, it could be a blowback.
They've gone too far.
Yeah.
Potentially.
But ultimately... that's the universes to date, I think. So.
Yeah, I mean, I just want one last thing about Ant-Man.
No.
Obviously, it could be the Rubicon too far, but I do not think it's going to halt the project anyway. If it goes south, it's just going to be their the break in their record. I just think it could be a good indicator as to how things are behind the scenes. Like Joss Whedon's currently in charge. He's the writer. Obviously, Kevin Feige is the money, but Joss Whedon is the one in charge of shepherding, bringing all this together. So I still think Joss Whedon is still our master.
Okay. Well, that was brilliant. So that was our first episode of Explosions and Exposition.
Next time is...
next time we'll be discussing casting decisions, particularly Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange and the Suicide Squad lineup.
And also the current casting in the Netflix TV series, which are airing in 2015 to Marvel. Please
do like and subscribe, and if you have any ideas for conversation topics that both me and Explosions could discuss, please comment on them. Thank you, and have a good day.
Later, Internet.